Alright, so let's add our next topic. Our next title is going to be Equations and Inequalities. Alright, so as we look at equations and inequalities, equations will always have an equal sign, whereas an inequality will have a less than or equal to, greater than, or greater than or equal to sign. So when we're working with equations, our goal is to find the value of x that'll make the equation true. And so by true, so when I say I want the equation to be true, that basically just means I want the left side to be the same or equal to the right side. So we're going to find what value of x will make this left side equal to 8. And so what we do is we solve. And when we say solve, we really just mean get the variable by itself. I want nothing next to the variable. So we do that by undoing these operations. We have two things happening right now. We have 3 next to x, which means multiply. And we also have the minus 1, which is subtract. And so when we undo or we solve an equation, we do the opposite. So the opposite of subtracting is adding. And we add 1 to both sides. And so when I say both sides, I mean both sides of the equal sign. So some teachers will actually have you draw a line going down from the equal sign. And you treat that like a barrier. So the minus 1 plus 1, they drop out, they go away. And so now I'm left with 3x equals 9. Again, remember that 3x really meant multiply. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So now we multiply both, or we divide both sides by 3, and we get x equals 3. And if I wanted to make sure that I was correct, I would take this 3, put it where the x is, and verify my solution. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. So my answer is x equals 3. Alright, try your 1b problem. Let's do 5x minus 4 is equal to 36. Alright, let's look at another example. Here we have 2 times the quantity 3x plus 1 equals 26. And so we're going to, before we start solving, we're going to distribute the 2 in. And so I get 6x plus 2 is equal to 26. And so now we're looking at a problem just like we did before, where we need to undo the number. So we do the opposite. Instead of adding 2, we subtract 2. So I get 6x equals 24. Now I divide both sides by 6. And I get x equals 4. So try the 2b problem. 7 times x minus 3 is equal to 14. Alright, now we're going to solve an inequality. And so you can see that instead of having an equal sign there, we have a greater than or equal to sign. And the steps are basically the same, except for one last step that we'll talk about in just a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the 1. So we do the opposite. We subtract 1 to both sides. And I get negative 3x is greater than or equal to 9. And so now I divide both sides by negative 3. And this is where we create our extra step, or our rule, is if I divide by a negative, I must switch or reverse the inequality. So here I was dividing with a greater than, so I need to flip that. So I'm going to have to take that greater than and switch it or reverse it and make it a less than. So this goes away. Now I'm left with x is less than or equal to -3. So let's try 3b on your own. Now this rule only applies if we're dividing by a negative. If this were a positive 3, then I wouldn't have switched it. But since it was negative, I had to switch the greater than to a less than. Alright, let's look at our last example. Let's say 4 textbooks cost $78. How much would 6 cost? And so what we're going to use to solve this is what we call a proportion. And a proportion is just one fraction equal to another fraction, or one ratio in this case equal to another ratio. So what you do is you put 4 books over $78, that's our ratio, and then we want to figure out how much 6 would cost. And so on the left side I put the books on top, and so they give us 6, and that corresponds to books, so you put that here on the top, and then what you don't know would be on the bottom, which would be the price. So we're trying to figure out how much it costs. And one of the advantages of writing it like this is to solve a proportion, you just cross multiply. And so I get x times 4, and that gives me 4x, and then 78 times 6, and so off to the side I just need to multiply that. That gives me 468, and now it's just an equation that I can solve. And so now I divide by 4, and so I get x equals, so when you divide here, 4 goes into 4 one time, 4 goes into 6 one time, and there's a 2 left over, so that remainder 2 goes in front of the 8, and so now you treat it like 28. 4 goes into 28 17 times, and so if I wanted to buy 6 books, it would cost $117. So you're going to try 4b now on your own. So for your 4b, it's if you work for 9 months, you earn 6 days of vacation. How many days of vacation would you have after 2 years? And 2 years is 24 months. So the proportion you're going to set up is if you work for 9 months, you get 6 days of vacation. And then I'll let you set up the other side. Good luck.